Welcome to It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. What is it? It's everything. Everything you want in life starts with courage.
Please do that again.
Okay.
No, the McDonald's thing, because I have a story.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Are you like Miss McDonald's?
Well, that is to be determined. No, I'm joking.
What? Guess what I've been watching on TV?
What?
It's on the History Channel. It's called The Food That Built America. Have you ever seen it?
The Food That Builds America.
That Built America.
That sounds like something I would watch.
It is really cool.
Okay.
You need to watch it.
The Food That Built America.
Yeah, The Food That Built America. And it's talking about like how like all these iconic food brands that we know like got started, how Hershey's chocolate got started, how Mars bars and
got started,
how bread, sliced bread became a thing. And it goes into McDonald's. How
I watched Founder, which was about the McDonald's story.
Yeah. So one of the things, here's a quick fact that I learned about. So, you know, Dave Thomas, the owner of Wendy's, he actually, before he started Wendy's, he actually was selling Kentucky Fried Chicken.
So KFC came out before them?
Yes. And KFC. And he was responsible for creating the bucket that the chicken comes in. Who would have thought? The founder of Wendy's. And he came up with the 2-window drive-through.
For paying but you know McDonald's doesn't respect that because they're
no, but
their back windows are always closed all the time.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, how crazy is that? Like, to learn like how Bird's Eye frozen food came about, and I was watching.
How did that come about?
Yeah, you need to watch the show.
Okay, what did you say it was called again?
The Food That Built America.
Okay, you guys have to watch this too.
And so I was watching you know, Post cereal, Post brand. Okay, so that dude, that, you know, Mr. Post, he ended up committing suicide.
Oh.
And he left his business to his daughter, Marjorie Post, who expanded it into all these different things. And guess one of her houses was Mar-a-Lago.
No way.
Which is where President Trump lives. So it's like, oh, you know, like you hear of like the raid on Mar-a-Lago, and then you watch The Food That Built America, and you realize like who was the original owner of Mar-a-Lago. Like, it's like all the pieces just coming together.
It's kind of like with all these founder things, these people know each other. I almost feel like it was one circle that kind of like spread out and built all these empires. For example, I was listening to a podcast, which is going to go into like a little bit of what I wanted to talk about today, even though this first bit is not related at all. I was listening to, Anderson Cooper has a new podcast.
What's your favorite Anderson Cooper?
I like a bit of Anderson. And it's all there is to know about Anderson Cooper. So basically his mother his mother passed away like 3 years ago. And since his mom passed away, she had this apartment. He's just had the apartment, never done anything with it. He never even went through her stuff. So in this podcast, it's him going through his mother's old apartment, finding notes that she was leaving for him. Crazy. Finding notes she was leaving for him. And he's kind of retelling her story. And it turns out she is like the great granddaughter of someone who did something major in America. It's really bad that I don't remember because I listen to these things on my walks. But they knew like the Frank Sinatras, like Frank Sinatra was her lover. he knew. Yeah, you would never think.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think when people end up in these careers, some people not do have it made, but like, you know, they know the right people that they end up in these great positions because of foundations that other people set up. But
well, I think that's part, like, I know this is not our topic, but this could be a topic.
I mean, we can make it a topic, and I can always talk about what I want to talk about next time. This could work.
But I mean, I think like that is true with how we live today. Like you're saying, like these people knew all the right people, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing here. Like how many companies have never like made it past the beginning because like they didn't know the right people to like present to, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can go on to, I think that's why the those shows like Shark Tank are so powerful, right? Because any Blow Joe, like you submit your paperwork and you go on Shark Tank and you are immediately in front of the right.
Blow Joe, not Joe Blow.
Whatever. Yeah, you know, whatever. You know, whatever. But they go on Shark Tank and they're immediately in front of the right people. Whereas like you and me, we know some people, but we don't know the people with billions of dollars or a lot of millions of dollars to be able to say, oh, let me show you this great idea that I have.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this sounds like this is our topic for this podcast, that basically in order to reach the top and be, I guess, in terms of financially wealthy, does it require knowing the right people? But I mean, obviously I was saying that the Andersons and all of this have had this great foundation and they're coming off of people who've built something already. That Anderson Cooper gives an example of his mother had like Anderson Cooper's mother, her father, his granddad. Gosh, why am I making this so complicated? Her granddad had many siblings where they basically blew all this money. She ended up as an orphan, and her aunt who lived in America is who went and got her from where she was living in Europe. But basically they only wanted her for her money. So they adopted her in for the money. So he built this empire, and the generations afterwards, I think the next generation made it really big, and then the generations afterwards just depleted and spent everything. So I suppose it's easy to look at, bless you, it's easy to look at children of successful business men and think that they have it made. But I think you're right in saying that's just not it. To a certain extent, it requires the grit and the grind of that offspring to take it to the next level, right?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I think that there are self-made people that did not know anybody, or, you know, just listening to these stories of these people that created these amazing, iconic brands that our nation just knows. But they created it out of a need for their personal family. Like, I don't know. There's this, I forgot what bread. I know this is stupid. I can't remember the bread, but it was one lady, her son was really sick and he needed certain kind of wheat and bread. And you couldn't just go and buy this kind of bread. And so she made this recipe, and she just made this bread from scratch, and she made loaf after loaf and tested thing after thing, and hundreds of loaves. And then she finally made this bread that her son would actually eat. And then when the doctor came and visited her son, he was like, "What are you feeding him?" And so he started prescribing this bread to people.
Whoa.
And so she started selling it, and then it just blew up into this big brand.
That's kind of cool.
But it all started out of something small, and it was not necessarily like she knew it, like she was trying to go there or whatever, but it was all out of a need. And if she needed it, there was more of
people who
need that, right?
What a way to start a business.
Yeah.
What a way to start a business. And I guess business is all about need, right? As in is it supply chain? In terms of like, is your product in demand? Do people need this, or can you make people feel like they need it?
Yeah.
Also, I look at, for example, craft homes, right?
Okay.
And I think these are things that, like, it's a brand that's well known for its luxury homes. And this is a name that can grow and continue for years and years. I guess it now depends on whether, let's say, Brandon's children decide, hey, when they grow up, they're going to go into this. But sometimes you get those siblings or children who don't want to take over the family business. Interesting story, something I learned recently. So my dad, and I think this is what I would call sowing seeds in your children, right? When you look at your daughter, she's watched you build, for as long as she's been alive, she knows my mom is this amazing businesswoman, built this from scratch. She's seen all the examples. Now, she may not go on and be a craft realtor, or she may not do that, but I think you're sowing the right seeds in her that you'll give her a passion for business. So my dad was a businessman. Only through talking to my sister, found out my mom was really the businessman. He was the face of the business. But what was interesting is he had a business, and he had like lots of butchery shops selling meat and that kind of stuff. And before he became a businessman, he was a school teacher, and he taught phys ed. I never knew this. So I'm on my live workout one day, and when I think about my journey on how I started this fitness business, I just always liked working out. I never thought about it past that, other than me just working out and wanting to deal with my own issues. I'm doing a live workout. These live workouts are things that just started, but they're so contagious to me now. It's just amazing to see someone come on there not feeling great and just leave feeling super energized. And my cousin, who's older than me, so my cousin's probably, I don't know, maybe 30 years older than me. And she came on the live and she was like, doing it just like your dad used to win all the fitness competitions. I was like, what? Like, in the moment, that's when it hit you. It hit me that, wow. Like,
yeah.
And when I think about, for the years that I knew my dad, that he was always going out and hustling and doing something, trying something. It may not have been successful,
right?
But all the time, but he was always trying something. So just to think all these seeds that people sow, it's not that I'm coming from a great background of connection and my dad knew people in Women's Health magazine or none of that. But through someone else's examples, sometimes that future generation is able to forge their own way, just based on what they saw and learned from their parents. And I sometimes think that's why when children take over some of these companies, they're able to make them even better because they've been on the outside watching.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and I think like some people that build businesses, like it's like the McDonald's people. Mm-hmm. Those the brothers didn't really have any desire to expand it, and so a lot of people are like, "Oh, they got screwed," whatever. But you know what? For what they had at the moment, at the time, I don't think that was such a bad deal that they got. They had, you know, for what they created, the Ray Kroc guy is the one that really expanded it to what it is, you know, today. But
in a way,
like some people like that are growing or have a business, it's like they do business as business has always been done. And their kids are waiting in the wings saying, you need to get on TikTok. You need to get on Instagram. And the parents are like, oh, this has worked this way forever.
And it will work.
And and so you get some fresh ideas and blood in there that care. I think one thing that really is a difference maker in businesses is if the people taking over or you're partnering with care about it as much as you do. I can see that in real estate, like in real estate teams, where it's like someone like me, and then like I just go out and hire 5 or 10 people. They're not related to me or anything like that. Or if it's a husband-wife team and their kids are, you know, they're buyer's agents or something like that. Like there's just a different feel and there's a different love for it. There's a different pride for it. So maybe in some of these big companies, like they were just talking about Marjorie Post was, you know, her dad had her in every board meeting. Like she was playing under the table. Wow. She was listening to the meetings. She was, you know, learning everything that he was teaching her all growing up. And so when he passed away, like she knew, but she had her own ideas too. She ended up buying Bird's Eye frozen food.
Oh, the people who do the peas.
Of all the frozen
and fish fingers.
All of that.
Wow.
Wow. Anyway. Random episode.
Completely random, but I think that was a great episode on what was it? I mean, it was great, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something from it.
You see how our brains work.
Yes, but stay tuned for part 2 next week, which is really what I want to talk about.
Oh yeah, I've kind of hijacked this one, but I think what it is about is like you were talking about businesses, having the right, surrounding yourself with the right people. If you are lucky enough to have people with connections to help you go fast, that's great. If you don't, you just got to grind it out.
And you know, and just from what you said at the end with Marjorie is allow your children to sit in on these things that we say are for grown folks.
Sow the seeds.
Or this is business meeting. Allow them to sit in. Let them get the feel from it at that age, because you can't keep them away and then one day and say, oh, this is your empire to take over.
Yeah, and they have no idea.
Nope. Great one, Jay.
All right. Peace.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. If you like this episode of the podcast, visit our website, iswcpodcast.com, for show notes and other cool things.